This is Hockey Talk, where we talk everything hockey. I am John.
And I'm Mike.
All right, Mike, let's go. Now, tonight, Mike, we're going to talk about some teams that we don't discuss that often. Something a little bit different. Now, the first topic is the Detroit Red Wings. Now, I know recently we did talk a little bit about Detroit, but I wanted to bring them up again because the Detroit Red Wings played on Sunday night against the Oilers at home. They lost 3-2 in overtime. Both teams have the exact same record, or they did as of when I made up these questions, at 4-4-1. Now, that's not terrible, but I was reading an article from Daily Faceoff, which I go in there often enough and look at stuff to see what's going on, and they seem to have a lot of good stuff there. And they suggest that the coach, Derek Lalonde, is on the hot seat, Mike. Now, Mike, do you believe that Mr. Lalonde will be the coach of the Detroit Red Wings at the end of the season? What do you say, Mike?
Yeah, I think he's going to get this season at least, and then depending on how they do, um, I don't expect them to be a playoff team, but I think he's got to get a little bit more out of some of these guys. They haven't been great. I mean, they've been good from time to time, but some of the guys haven't produced to what would be expected. I know that Dylan Larkin hasn't had a great start to the season, at least compared to last year. Last year, he got off to a really quick start. Um, Patrick Kane, he started a little bit slow. He started to pick it up though a little bit lately, so that's good for him. Also, Vladimir Tarasenko has been
He
a
hasn't
bust
done
so
anything.
far. Yeah, he's been, they're counting on this guy to put up some points, and he's been not great. So, with those things not helping, and the goaltending average at best, like I said before, with Huso got sent to the minors, and Talbot hasn't been good, so they're relying on Alex Lyon, and I mean he's average at best. So um, I don't foresee Detroit having a great season. So with that being said, it all depends on what he can get out of some of these younger guys this year will determine whether or not he's back next year or not. So I think he's going to get the full season in this year. I don't think they're going to let him go during the season. I mean, he has just started coaching the team pretty much. So, but who knows as far as next year goes? They might bring in more of a veteran coach next year to have this team take the next step.
All right. Well, what do you think it would take, Mike? What kind of a record do you think it would take in order for him to keep his job? Like, so does he need to finish over 500? Does he need to make the playoffs?
I don't think he needs to make the playoffs. I mean, they're going to have a tough go whether they had a good coach or not to make the playoffs. I mean, the Eastern Conference it's tough. So, I think he's got to be at least 500 to have a shot at being there next year. Anything less than that, then the questions are going to be asked. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, is there any of these Red Wing players that you think we should keep an eye on, either for maybe for good reasons or bad reasons? I know you were talking about the goaltending and Dylan Larkin. Is there anything else, anybody else you want to keep an eye on out there?
Well, I mean, for players to keep an eye on that should be productive players this year, Lucas Raymond, who's having a pretty good season so far. He's a point a game guy. So, um, Sider, their defenseman, he's got to have a good year for this team to be somewhat successful. I mean, their defense is already it's weak, so they need him to
Right.
have a good year. As far as the not so good, like I said, Tarasenko, like
Let's he
hasn't
got
done
one goal.
anything. They brought in Eric Gustafson basically to replace Gostis Bear, and that's been a disaster already. They've already made him a healthy scratch at times, so they did not do anything to improve the defense. I mean, I know they're hoping that Simon Edvinson will take the next step this year, but they're going to have a tough go.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, like I said, I know we talked about Detroit even last week, but I wanted to bring them up again just because I had read that. So, and we don't talk about them too often. So, Our second topic for tonight is the Minnesota Wild. Now we barely talk about them, but they've got a pretty good record here, Mike, of 5-1-2. Not bad at all. Are you surprised by their record at 8 games in? And how did the Wild manage to have such a good start to the season?
Well, I think I am surprised that they're doing this well. I was thinking them to be more of a 500 team, maybe a game over, or a game under. So I think that the new coach has made a difference there. Dean Evason's the coach there now, so I think having that new voice in the dressing room is helpful to the team. Um, their younger guys have played well. Kaprizov's been good. Boldy's been good. Eriksson Ek's been good. Faber's been good. So even some of their depth players, like Jake Middleton, like he's got like 6 points or something so far this year, which is he's not a point producer. So they're getting some contributions from some of the guys that are a little bit lower down in the lineup, which is good for them. So. Uh, and that's the thing. If you want to have a successful team, you need to have your bottom two lines producing a little bit. They can't just do nothing, right? So I think maybe the coaching has been what the team needed. The goaltending's been good so far. Yeah, aside from the game against the Flyers, it wasn't great then. But then again, yeah, it must have been a full moon that night. Um,
It
but
wasn't.
uh, but yeah, the goaltending's been good so far. So I mean, yeah. So I'm surprised, like I said, but maybe they can keep it going. Who knows? We'll have to see.
So you're not sure if they're good enough to keep this up or not. I mean, you
I
weren't expecting it. I
you
wasn't.
know, I don't think that they're necessarily good enough to maintain this current pace, but
Okay.
we'll see how it goes.
All right. All right. Well, okay, Mike, let's go on to the third topic for tonight. The Seattle Kraken, who we almost never even mention. At 4-4-1, the Kraken have a 20-year-old rookie by the name of Shane Wright. He has 2 points in 9 games, not spectacular, but 1 goal, 1 assist. I was reading an article on the team's very own website, Mike, of how Shane Wright is working hard on his game, how he's doing all the little things right, even though this hasn't amounted to a lot of points yet in the NHL. So, Mike, he is averaging a whopping 13 and a half minutes roughly a game. Now, can Shane Wright become a bigger point producer in the NHL, Mike? What do you think? Here he is, 20-year-old on a really young team. Well, maybe not really young, but what do you think, Mike? Is this guy? Oh, and by the way, Mike, I looked up his games that he's played this year, and he's played on all four lines. He's played on
Mm,
the first line, the second line, the third line, and the fourth line. Now, mainly he's on the third and fourth lines, obviously, more often, but he
right.
has started the game or played the majority of the game on the first and second line. So, and he does pretty much get second line power play time. So, what do you think, Mike?
I'll be honest with you. I not a big fan. When he was drafted, I mean, he was projected to go as one of the top couple picks, and he slipped a little bit in the draft. So I think some of these teams maybe got a feel that he wasn't going to be the top line type player that they were hoping to get. So, and I believe that's probably the case. I think he's, you know, I mean, he's not going to be a terrible NHL player, but I don't think he's going to live up to his first round draft position. So, I mean, I think he's probably best case scenario a 50-point player. I don't see
50
anything
pointer?
more than that out of him. And I mean, it's going to take him some time to even get to being a 50-point player. I mean, this year, not going to happen. We'll see next year, but I just don't. I don't see him as an offensive type player. I see him more as a two-way player. Probably best case scenario is a strong third line player, but I don't see him as a guy that's going to be a top tier player on that team.
Right, right. Do you think he could move up to be a second line player eventually, or is he just
Uh,
not?
well, I mean, you never know. I mean, he's still young, so it's possible. But you know, the way he's played currently, and I mean, I know they've given him opportunities, so they
Hmm.
want to see
They
him
definitely
succeed
have.
based off of the position that they picked him at. So, with that being said, I don't think he's lived up to it so far. So, I mean, it just all depends how much rope are they going to give him. Like, maybe he's one of these guys that don't pan out. I mean, it happens. There's a lot of guys that get picked in the first round that don't do much. So,
Right, right. And of course, this is the team's very own website that I'm reading this from. Of course, they're going
mhm,
to say that he's doing everything right. He's working hard.
yeah,
But he is only 20. Yeah, we got to
right,
give the guy a chance. But
yeah,
I thought I would ask you about him. I thought he was interesting and, got us to Seattle a little bit, which we never really talk about. So,
mhm.
all right. Well, let's go on to the fourth topic now. Mike, the fourth topic is the St. Louis Blues at 5-4-0. Why, oh, why is it, Mike, that this team just does not seem to instill any excitement in a whole lot of people? They just seem to be very average. Now, one of the
Um,
Blues' better players, Robert Thomas, is out for at least 6 weeks with a fractured ankle. He is a key part of their team, getting over 20 minutes of playing time a game, which is a lot. The Blues are one game over 500 after a not so great game against the Canadians, which I was really surprised at. Mike, are the Blues deep enough for this injury to not affect their push for a playoff spot? What do you think?
this injury is really going to have an impact on that team. Robert Thomas is the best player on the team.
Hmm.
With him being out for this long, it's really going to hurt. Um, he's their top
And it
line
showed in
center.
Montreal, did it the other night?
Yeah. So, I mean, as the top line center being out, that's a tough hit to take. I don't think that this is going to help their shot at a playoff spot, certainly. And I mean, the team was already, at best a wild card possibility. So this is really gonna hurt that team. I mean, the wingers, that's they're relying on him to get them the puck, and now they're gonna have to rely on somebody else to move up and step up, and yeah. So I don't think this is gonna help them out at all. And like I said, they've already you know already gonna had their struggles as far as getting into a playoff spot. So this is you know not helping.
Man, like I said, they seem to be an average team. I feel for them. I mean, it wasn't that many years ago they won the Stanley Cup,
Yeah, I mean they
right?
do have, they've got some good players, but it's you can't replace your top line center, especially when you're already an average team at best. So, that's
Right.
just and I don't really see them making a trade or anything like that to do anything in that regard. So
Well, I was looking at their roster. They don't really seem to have a lot of pieces that they could trade. I mean, maybe they could trade some draft picks or something, but
they've got some really good prospects in the in junior and the U.S. hockey leagues, like the college leagues and stuff like that, and in the minor leagues. They've got some high end talent like Dalibor Dvorsky, uh, Snuggerud. They've got a few guys that teams would definitely be interested in. So,
okay.
but I just don't think they don't want to trade those guys. Those are their building blocks for the next few years. So
Right. So they don't want to get rid of them. They're hoping these guys can step in a few years and
yeah,
make this team a much better team.
exactly.
They don't want to destroy the cupboard, I guess is what it
No,
is. So
definitely not.
okay, all right. Well, that's good. Now, Mike, I want to go back to something that we started last week, and it's time for the hockey profit segment of our show, where you are the actual hockey prophet. I will let you know that this is something that I hope that we can do every week, and just we're going to fire some rapid fire questions out there. I've got my timer here. I'm going to set it, and we're going to see how long we can do this. We're going to try and do it as quick as we can. So, Mike, are you ready for these 5 questions? And by the way, Mike does not know what these questions are ahead of time. So,
Yeah, I was wrong on the Zach Hyman prediction
Yeah, I
last
was going to
week.
mention that you were. Yeah, he did. He
Yeah,
still doesn't have a goal.
I can't believe it. Like, anyways, and now it's going to be harder with McDavid getting hurt last night. So, who knows how long he's going to be out? They haven't really announced anything yet. So,
I know. I know. I was just watching tonight before we came on air, and there's like no news. They just don't. It's all
yeah,
speculation right now. So,
right.
all right. Well, number one, Mike. The San Jose Sharks got their first win of the season Monday night. Their next game is tonight, Tuesday night, against the LA Kings. Mike, will San Jose get their second win of the season tonight?
I'm going to say no. And it's not because I think the Kings are a really good team. I just don't think San Jose is good enough to win two in a row.
Okay. Number two, Mike. Cole Caulfield is tied for second right now with goals in the NHL with 8. How many goals will he end the season with this year?
38. I'd like
38.
to say
Okay.
40, but I'm going to go 38.
All right. 38. Number three, and the New Jersey Devils are in first place in their division with a record of 6-4-2. Will they win their division?
No. I think it's the
No.
Rangers that are going to win the division.
Okay. Fair enough. Number four, on Buffalo News, there is a piece that reads Luukkonen is providing the Sabres best stability in net since Ryan Miller. Mike, the Sabres are a big 4-5-1 this year. Is this statement true from the Buffalo Sabres?
Yes, Luukkonen is
Yes.
a really good goalie. He is their best goalie since Ryan Miller, I think.
Okay. All right. And finally, Mike, number five, and I'm sure you'll be glad when this is all over with. Mike, in the same article that I read about Derek Lalonde, it is suggested that Tortorella could be on the hot seat. Is this true, Mike? What do you think?
I hope not. Um, and I don't think so. But the longer the team plays this poorly, the obviously the shorter the leash will be. But
They did
yeah,
win their last game, though, right?
yeah, it was not good.
Well, Mike, we did that in under 2 minutes. I think that's pretty good to get those questions out there, and you did a good job. But I want to know, Mike, about what happened the other day with Cheerfest. What is Cheerfest? What happened Saturday night? Why don't you let our listeners know what Cheerfest actually is?
Well, Cheerfest is supposed to be an evening of the Flyers and Canadians in which the Flyers win, so we can do a lot of cheering. However, wasn't a whole lot of cheering for the Flyers Sunday night, except for the last 5 minutes. So what it is generally myself and one of my other friends who's a Flyers fan. We get together at our friend's place. There's usually 5 or 6 of us there. Everybody else pretty much cheers for Montreal. One guy's neutral though because he doesn't like either team, so he cheers for the Red Wings. But anyway, so we get together to watch the games, and sometimes we play what's called a Cheerfest Pro Line, where we put $5 in, and we pick, which team's going to win, who's going to score the first goal, which goalie's going to make the most saves, stuff like that. It's like little prop type bets. So, and whoever has the most correct at the end of the night wins the pot. So we didn't get to do that this week though, just because a couple of us got there a little bit late. So, um, we generally we only do that when everybody's on time. So, but that's what Cheerfest is, and not a whole lot of cheering the last few there for the Flyers, unfortunately. So,
And I made a mistake, and you correct me. I said it was Saturday night, and I know the game was on Sunday night. So
right, yeah,
yeah. So you called it a tear fest when you lose? Is that, is that
it's
right?
Tearfest when we lose, it's Cheerfest when we win. So, yeah, it was not a good game. I mean, the whole and this is the Montreal fans that were there even said that even though that they won the game was not good. It was it was your classic game of two terrible teams playing against each other. So nothing was pretty.
Right, right. And I also want to say congratulations Uh, Congratulations has to go to the San Jose Sharks for finally getting that first win there the other night. Good job for the San Jose Sharks. So,
Yeah.
Mike, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about tonight before we end this episode?
No, not really. Other than the fact that the season is starting to look worse by the day for the Flyers. The goaltending has been terrible. The defense has been terrible. The offense has been terrible, with the exception of Michkov and Konechny. Couturier had a 5 point game, and he's had 1 point for his other 8 games. So you know, just I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a tough season. I think the Flyers are going to be a contender for one of the top 3 picks this year.
I was going to say, well, maybe one of those picks could help them out. You just never know.
Yeah, well, let's hope, because they need a lot more than what they're getting. So
Okay, well, remember, folks, to like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment in the comment section. Let us know where you believe we went wrong, because I'm sure we've done something wrong tonight. So we'll see you next week. Later, folks.
later.